Hello, best friends. Ali Duzette here, and it is Cancer season. Woo! So these are the things that you need to know about Cancer. Now, I'm pulling up the transit chart right now, which is the chart of this day. Whenever somebody's talking about the transits, they're talking about right here, right now. Okay. And this is the sun. It looks like a circle with a dot on it, and that's the moon. And we just had the new moon last night. The moon moves so quickly, it actually only takes about 2.5 days to transit one single sign. And so, it was exact, the sun, a few hours ago, and now it's already at 13 degrees of Cancer. And this is the sign for Cancer. It looks like a 6-9, but it's actually crab claws. Okay, it's a crab claws because Cancer is the crab. Cancer is all about mothers, motherhood, intuition, feminine energy in families. It's about finding your tribe. Okay. It is the crab, which is famous for having a really tough exterior, but a very soft interior, right? And so that's kind of the trick with Cancer, is that when you're dealing with Cancer energy, it's going to appear tougher than it actually may be on the inside. Cancer energy does not like people to see its squishy innards. It would rather put up a false front, a hard front, and leave that soft, squishy stuff intact inside. So that is something to be aware of with Cancers. Cancers can tend to hold a grudge, where whatever you have in Cancer in your chart, that can be linked to holding grudges, whatever you've got going on in there. So let me pull up the transit chart again. So what that means is, like, say you have, Venus in Cancer or something, you might be one to tend to hold a grudge in your relationships or with your mother. Venus can also go with the mother, even though the moon technically is the boss of Cancer. The moon and Cancer go together, and the moon and Venus are both quintessential feminine energies in the chart. If you have Mercury in Cancer, you may end up kind of, holding grudges or around communication, around your thought processes. It can be a situation where you may not always speak your deepest truth because it's just so squishy and you just don't want it to be hurt, And so this is a situation where you say, I'm fine. When people say I'm fine, they're like never actually fine, but this is kind of the energy of I'm fine, because it's a self-defense mechanism, right? It's all about self-defense for Cancer energy. Uranus in Cancer, you would expect some maybe unexpected events, or possibly even misfortune, or like cataclysmic disasters in the area of motherhood, your family of origin, or the family that you create, or the tribe that you create of, like, your best friends in real life or on the internet. Mars in Cancer is a really interesting energy because Mars is very proactive. It takes a lot of action. It gets a lot of things started, and it can be into conflict. So having Mars in Cancer, it could be something where you're very proactive in your family relationships, or you have a lot of trauma and stress and conflict in your family relationships. This is Chiron. If you had Chiron in Cancer, I actually have Chiron in Cancer, so I'm like pretty much an expert on that. But it typically indicates a lot of trauma around, like, your relationship with your mother, your relationship with yourself as a parent, a mother or a father, and so that, and it can also be a wound with your intuition, because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is kind of the boss of your intuition. I would say the moon and Neptune are the boss of your intuition. And so having Chiron in Cancer can make it so that you have some wounding around your intuitive side. Jupiter in Cancer would probably make you have lots of blessings and positive experiences around motherhood and your family, and it would probably drive you to really expand your family. What if that's your biological children, adoption, foster care, teaching kids could, but as more of like it would depend on the motivation. Because I would say Gemini would be more like being a teacher, like being a kindergarten teacher, but having Jupiter in Cancer would really probably drive somebody to want to spend time with just people they could kind of coach and take care of, like a nurturing sort of energy. Having Neptune in Cancer, you're going to have a lot of intuition when it comes to family matters and your relationship with your mother, your relationship with yourself as a parent. And let's see, Saturn in Cancer can make you either a master of motherhood and family matters, or it could really signal a lot of trauma in that area. Like seeing that placement, things that would not surprise me would be like true mastery of raising children and being a leader in a home. It would also not surprise me to see a history of child abuse. Having been abused as a child is what I mean. And possibly perpetuating it. I mean, the people that come to me are not the sorts of people that perpetuate that typically, but having Saturn in Cancer, Saturn can go either way. It can be like real mastery or like real, very difficult stuff. So that is something to keep an eye on. And the same thing with Chiron. Chiron in Cancer, that could also be an abuse energy as well in the home, like child abuse sort of energy. So something to keep an eye on. Pluto in Cancer, the way that you experience death and rebirth in your life is going to be through feminine energy, your tribe, your family, your home, like the people that are supposed to surround you and keep you safe. This is where you're going to experience your death and rebirth. So those are some things to be aware of. If your North Node is in Cancer, then you have a call to move away from masculine energies, away from the energy of the office and the workplace, and into the energy of home, family, even working from home, right? Supporting yourself from home or from kind of a more feminine space. Even if the work that you do is not feminine or something like that, accomplishing it in the context of a feminine way could be a thing. Or one thing that I love about Cancer, when people have Cancer midheaven, I view them as like the matriarch or the patriarch. And I read this most beautiful chart for a man who has a Cancer midheaven. And when I saw it, I thought, oh my gosh, like he's the patriarch. And he is, like, this is what people know him for. He leads this group of people, all these followers on YouTube, they love him. And he's got this beautiful Cancer midheaven that just, it gives out this vibe of like, I am the dad, like I am the father, I will protect you. And it just has this real like protection, nurture, guidance vibe that is so beautiful. So if you have a Cancer midheaven, I think that is just so beautiful. So right now we are in the middle of Cancer season, and I wanted to make this video on the first day of Cancer season, but I didn't because I was traveling, and I still am, but I have a minute right now while all the kids are quiet, and we'll see how quiet they can be in for how long. Okay, so you can see that the sun today is at 7 degrees of Cancer. The sun transits 1 degree every single day. This is a circle, which, as you know, has 360 degrees, which reminds you of what? A year, which has 365 days. So about every day, the sun moves about 1 degree. Okay, so we've been in Cancer season for about 7 days, which makes sense. Well, actually almost 8, because look, it's at 7 degrees and 50 minutes. And I ran this when I started this, but let's just catch up to where we are now. Okay, it's still at 7 degrees and 50 minutes as I'm speaking, but it will be at 8 degrees by the end of the day. It transited into Cancer on June 21st, and here we are at June 29th. And so you can see that it basically lines up how the degrees work. And so we just did have that new moon in Cancer, which is a big deal. I forgot to mention this in my last video on the new moon, but because the moon is in charge of Cancer, and this is the new moon in Cancer, I would say that, yeah, it's kind of like a super duper special new moon. So just a really powerful time to set new intentions. I don't put pressure on them. I just write them down, toss them away. Don't even think about it again until The moon returns to Cancer when the sun is in Capricorn, when it highlights this axis once again. That is the time that we would check in on those intentions, which happens to be about December 28th of 2022, which is the third Pluto return. We have to talk about this more, and I'll see if I can do it while my kids are quiet on a different video. Okay, and I just want to mention, of course, if you aren't a member of Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzette on Facebook, super recommended. Come and hang out with me in there. I would love to be your best friend in there. Okay, other things to know about Cancer. Let me just tune in and make sure I'm not missing anything that's super important for you guys. Okay, here's one to know. Cancer does govern the belly, and so if you've got a little extra fat, sometimes that can be linked to Cancer, because it's a protective energy. It's kind of like that hard shell of a crab, but for the soft belly of your actual body, right? And so, okay, the sun is going to be in Cancer for the next 3 weeks. Okay, it's in every sign for about a month, right? 12 signs, 12 months. And while it's transiting through Cancer, anything that you have going on in Cancer in your birth chart is going to be triggered. Anything you have in Capricorn, this purple guy, is going to be triggered. And additionally, anything that you've got going on in Aries and in Libra, because it kind of makes this big X. Can you see that X marks the spot? The sun will be squaring anything you've got going on in Aries or Libra. It will be opposite anything that you've got going on in Capricorn. So those are all things to keep an eye on. These are considered cardinal energies, and they're the energies of getting things started. So this past new moon, which is still active today, you have the next 2 days to finish setting intentions and to really like dig into this new moon energy. It's a really powerful time because it's going to activate all of the stuff on this cardinal axis of taking action, getting things started, moving forward as you get something going. So that is an energy to keep an eye on for the next 3 weeks. What can you start in the next 3 weeks? And how will that fit into that X marks the spot? Right there. Okay, that is, oh wait, one more thing. Mother relationships. This is a great time of the year to focus on your relationship with your mother. This is a great time to focus on your relationship with your own children as a parent, regardless of whether or not you are a mother or a father. This is just kind of like the nurturing parenting energy. This Capricorn is going to be more like the less nurturing parenting energy, but both parents need to both nurture and lead, right? This is kind of like the leadership parenting energy. This is like the nurturing parenting energy. Both parents have to engage in that. That's how we build our relationships with our children. And so this is a perfect 3-week period to be focusing on that and really figuring out, paying attention to where you are interacting in your relationships from a space of that closed off crab shell, and where it might be safe to expose a little bit of that soft inside to the people that you love. Okay, that is it for today. Thank you so much. Again, join me on Facebook, Intuitive Healing with Ali Duzette. Be sure to like and subscribe if you love everything that is cool. And be sure to check out my Pluto return video if you haven't. We are heading up for Pluto return number 2 in about 2 weeks, which is so soon. And I'm sure that we're going to see some really interesting stuff showing up very shortly. So, okay, that's it for now. Have a great day.